Youth Devotions of the Week with Becca.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Youth Devotions of the Week. Apologies that you're joining me in my bedroom. It is boiling outside, an absolute scorcher, and this is the coolest room in our house, so welcome to my bedroom. As I'm sure you're aware, we have finished our series on hope. If you didn't catch it, hopefully I've worked out how to put a thingy up here with the link to it. Be sure to check that out because I love talking about hope. I find it really quite inspiring, to be honest. So we're on our third series of Youth Devotions of the Week, which is actually mind-blowing. Like, it's gone so quick. But what I did again was I opened it up and asked you lot if any of you had a particular topic or subject you wanted to look at in the next few weeks. And two of you actually said you'd love it if we looked at the topic of prayer. So that's exactly what we're doing. As always, I am using the Bible app, and it's just going to take us through prayer and what praying looks like and how we can be praying in this time and what prayer skills we can be taking with us when eventually we're out of lockdown. So I'm actually going to start this week by reading our passage, and today's passage is Matthew 6:5-8. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. I don't know how good your memory is, but I'm assuming you don't actually remember when you learnt to speak. But for some of you, you might have younger siblings and you remember what it was like when they were learning to speak. I'm actually the oldest. I have two younger siblings, a younger sister and a younger brother, and me and my sister are only 2 years apart, so I don't really remember her learning to speak, but I do remember my brother learning to speak. And his first sentence was actually, "Rebecca, be careful on the wall." Because I used to walk along the wall into my primary school every day. Always looking out for me, bro. But the reality is, none of us remember the first time we learnt to speak. Because that's the reality, right? When we're first born, our only way of communicating is by crying. And most of the time, nobody ever understood what we were crying about. We could have been hungry, tired, pooed ourselves, wanted something out of reach that we weren't allowed to have. The possibilities were quite literally endless. But luckily, for most of us, that's not how we communicate anymore. I don't just start crying when I need to tell somebody something. I do cry a lot though. Very emotional girl. And in the same way, when we were kids, we were learning how to communicate with our families, with the people around us. It's important that we learn how to pray. Why? Well, because prayer is a very specific form of communication. Sometimes prayer is easy. It just flows out of us. I find that often when I'm in absolute despair or a really difficult situation or I'm desperate, I can pray pretty easy. It just comes out. But other times, praying can be quite difficult. We might get distracted or feel as if we're speaking to nobody. We're just speaking to an empty room. But the reality is, and the starting point of this series has to be, that God hears every prayer. And that makes every prayer important. Whether you feel it or not, every time you pray, God is doing something in you. Make prayer a regular practice. Do it all the time. And then you'll see God at work in you in ways you could never have imagined. And do what God told us to do in that passage. Get alone, spend time with just you and God, speak to God openly, and allow him to start something new in your life through prayer. Over the next few weeks, we're going to look more specifically at prayer tips and advice. But before then, this week, I just want to encourage you to get on with it and start praying. You don't need all the fancy words. You don't need the hands out, the hands up, none of that. You don't need the long words. You don't need the lyrical voice, we sometimes find ourselves doing. It's you and it's God. God already knows your needs. He just wants a relationship with you, so hang out with him and just chat. I'm excited to go on this prayer journey with you all and to look at ways that we can improve or work on or ignite our prayer lives and spend time this week chatting to God, because you won't regret it. As always, if you have anything that you want to say on this topic, any comments, any thoughts, any advice, then you can send them through. You can comment them on this video, you can send them in an email, or you can send me a WhatsApp or a DM on our Instagram. We'd love to keep chatting with you about prayer. But for now, I will see you all next week for Youth Devotions, and don't forget we'll have another video up on Friday. Bye! I hope you haven't been able to hear the cars go past the whole time. Oh man.